hybrid player, buzzword at the moment in world rugby. I just can't help think an athlete like John Olomo under the guidance of someone like Rassie Erasmus, where would we be as rugby? Gentlemen, and there it is. I mean, I didn't see it coming. Don't know if you guys ever saw it coming. We've always seen forwards, something's gone wrong coming under the wing. I can think of a Kwagga Smith. What's your opinion on what Rassie's talking about? We talk about hybrid rugby players that come out last week. What is the future of maybe more the bench, I'd say?
Yeah, I think if you look at Rassie, he looks at the team, he takes the whole 23 and he thinks, how can I get the best out of these 23 players that I can use on a Saturday? There's not starters, there's not bench guys. I mean, everyone's got a role in that team and it can be different. So I still think, actually had a chat this week with John Cohen about fundamentals of rugby, and they worry that the fundamentals will change. And I said, if you go look at our starting lineup, I mean, you've got proper guys that can do their job like we knew in the old days.
Yeah.
But the moment where you go to the bench, that's where the people can try new things. They can see, listen, will this track? I mean, the bomb squad, having 7 forwards.
Yeah.
Or now, all of a sudden, Andre Esterhuizen, 125 kgs probably. He's 196. I mean, he's built like a loose forward, or even a second rower. Why can't you use him? He's got all the skills. Look like he got a bit tired in the forwards. I don't think there's as much just standing in the back line. But I think you need to have a look at that bench and think, listen, how can I use this bench? How can I do something else that no one else was thinking about?
Well, they talk about fundamentals, as Vic says, John Cohen, New Zealander. Let's take it back. 1968, no replacements. I remember playing at school, only 15, and that was it. Can you imagine the debate then? I think we'd have to go to the archives, have a look at those newspapers in terms of when they introduced the replacements, where you could sub somebody when they were injured in test matches, and then it was post-95, 1996, whereby now we got down to about 22 players as such at the time. Then the technical setup came about, and it's just how the game evolves. It's just, I think the hybrid thing is just how do we make this game better?
Well, you talk about evolution. It is natural evolution of the game. This actually has happened before. Makalou played on the wing when the test match with Peter Steph du Toit knocked out one of their players. He played almost 70 odd minutes at the wing as a loose forward. Botia does the same for La Rochelle. Consistently plays 8 flank or in the centres. Eddie Jones way back had Sam Sibbons, the 8th man, playing centre as well. Guy like Henry Pollock that's playing for the British and Irish Lions now, he easily could fit into a back line. So I think it's not going to become a new thing. I think many of the sides are going to have these options where they've got players that can utilise in certain positions, 2 or 3 positions in the back line, and certainly 1 or 2 in the forwards.
You know, talking about this, I thought of a guy like Craig Burden. Remember the Sharks hooker? I think in these times he would be really ideal because I thought he was quick. They could play at hooker and then they played centre.
I think he started on the wing actually. Craig Burden, started on the wing, moved into hooker. That's a big change, but I mean he was still quick. I mean if he was on the outside getting the ball, there was always trouble. And I mean you mentioned John Olomo. He started off as a loose forward and then he moved to the wing. So I think in rugby that's what's nice. There's a place for everyone. There's a place for a few fat guys in the front row, skinny boys in the middle, small guys that scrum off. But then you will go, especially the way the game is going now, it's faster, ball doesn't play longer. You'll go to the super athlete where 10 of the positions will be athletes and they can run around and they're big and they're strong. And then you've got the specialized guys that's maybe, I don't know if we got extra powers or we short powers that can play certain positions.
Well, let's talk about the future of the bench of rugby. You know, we've won. As the number have increased, now we're 8. What do you think the future is going to look like in future in terms of, now we're talking with these hybrid players, an opportunity to get these super athletes, and there's key positions where I think mainly it's your front row from then on.
It all started with the front row, didn't it? Where players could play both sides of the scrum. Then they actually added the extra man in to make sure they could balance it out. But I mean, if you go back to 99, the Stormers played with 3 centres. I mean, we had Andy Marinos, Robbie Fleck and Bob Skinstad.
That never changed. The list goes on. I can remember all the fly-offs that played flank for the Stormers.
But I think it's actually a discussion where, in the world at the moment, it's about, do you want fatigue to come into the game? So all of a sudden, players probably will be a bit smaller. because they need to go 80 minutes. They can't be replaced. If they're fatigued, there's probably more opportunities on attack. But then on the other side, people want to speed up the game.
Yeah.
And we see if you put up a new 9, put up a new 10, put up 5 forwards, all of a sudden the speed of the game lifts again. So it's all about what you want out of the game. And I don't think there's a right and there's a wrong. But
what does Victor want out of the game?
I think if you're probably a real purist, I like the 15 guys play the game for as long as possible. I mean, we won the World Cup in 2007. Jake didn't make a change. We played right through. Bismarck came on for 2 minutes where John went off for blood. Very important throw that he had to hit. But these days, that's what the rules are. And if there's rules, there's 8 guys, you can use them, you can make certain changes, then you need to play according to it. So that's where it is at the moment. I think, it's difficult to say we want to go back to the 15 because that won't happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, that fatigue factor at the end, that brought a different player, maybe lighter players into the game as well.
Could we get to a stage where, almost like NFL, such I've got these 8 players, depending on what I've got, or what situation I'm faced with as a coach, and I could make a sub. I don't have to wait for the 80th minute, so I could bring Victor on quickly for his next line-out, and they're 22. Victor's done. I'm bringing Corsi, the next one, to grind up the middle. Is that a possibility with the game?
No, then you're taking away rugby as it stands. You might as well play American League or Aussie League.
Yeah.
No, I think I agree with Vic. I think your starting 15s are pretty specialised. It's just the guys when they come into the bench scenario where you can guys that double up in certain positions. I've talked about props doing it back in the day.
Yeah.
Hookers can play flank, generally speaking, at this present time, and most of them are in the trams anyway. So if you see that the try the British and Irish Lions scored, with Keenan scored on the wing, with interplay with the winger. So I think a lot of the players on the bench were multi-purpose, except in your front row. And certainly a guy like Peter Steff plays flank, he can play 8th man. I mean, we have it across the board in our South African side. They have it across the board in most teams, international teams across the world.